you're not what I expected, because there's a certain kind of creepy edge to your story, and it's disturbingly normal. Yeah, I mean, maybe, you know.
Yeah, look at a writer whom I admire very much is Barbara Gowdy, and, you know, she looks as if sugar wouldn't melt in her mouth, so there you go. And she writes about elephants and necrophilia, so she certainly writes on the bizarre side, although I think she's probably tired of hearing that. Yeah, I love the bizarre aspect of writing, certain people's writing, such as Barbara Gowdy's and George Saunders and A.M. Holmes and Amy Bender. I love that aspect of the bizarre and the touching, and it's something I try to capture in my writing. And I think it works particularly well in short story form. The short story, the title story, Bang Crunch, obviously is, because of its form, couldn't go on for a novel length. It had to be something very succinct and a nugget of, because it's about a little girl who ages very quickly and then de-ages. She goes back in time to birth. And it's so wacky and bizarre that I think it would be hard to carry on with that tone throughout an entire length of a novel. So I think some of the creepiness and the bizarreness I might have to tone down in the novel. I don't know, we'll see. But then again, you don't want to lose any of the originality that adds to a book like Bang Crunch. So I'll see. I'm not sure how that's going to play out in the novel.
Yeah, the Bang Crunch story, it was definitely one of the creepier ones. And there are moments when I'm going, okay, she's now, how old is she? Actually, chronologically, she's, what,
9 maybe by the end.
And she's having sex with a
teenager.
It was, yeah, it was like, it was creepy.
It was a bit creepy, that, because she's 9, but she's aging so fast that she's actually, you know, 42. But then it's creepy too, because she's 42 and the kid she's having sex with is 16. So that's creepy as well.
Yeah.
But what's creepier, her being 9 and having sex with a 16-year-old, or her being 42 and having sex with a 16-year-old? I don't know, but yeah, it was great fun to write that story, and it was a story that I wrote very quickly compared with some of the other ones, because I wanted it to be stream of consciousness, and I wanted all these bizarre elements to collide together, just one colorful image after another that takes you through the 9 or 10 pages that the story lasts. And I wanted too in the book to have the balance of some of the bizarre aspects with some of the more sober, realistic stories. I didn't want the same tone to carry on throughout the book. I thought that would be boring. And you know, you read books of short stories, and sometimes that's what the author does, and he seems or she seems to repeat him or herself throughout, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted to try different things and different characters and different colors, and have more of a mix of different stories.
And it makes it hard on interviewers to ask you questions, because story collections are hard anyway, but
yes.
the stories are so diverse.
Yeah.
You come back to one set of characters twice, and you change the viewpoint. First, we're closer to the son, and then the second time we're closer to the mother.
Right.
And she's a little unusual because she's put her husband's ashes in
a curling stone. Yes, and this came about because I actually know someone who did this. You know, it seems as if it would be something I made up, but that's actually something that has occurred in my family, my extended family. So I thought it was such a bizarre thing to do, but as the more and more that I thought about it, I thought that maybe it's not so bizarre. So she does have her husband, who's a big curler, has his ashes placed in a curling stone. And it's something that appalls her son. He thinks it's just too freaky, and he's embarrassed about it, and it's a source of conflict between the mother and the son in the two stories. And some people have thought that I wrote these stories together, or that they're part of a bigger a novel. But in fact, no, they're actually written separately and a couple of years apart. The first story, Green Fluorescent Protein, was one of the first stories that I wrote for the book, whereas Funny, Weird, or Funny Haha was actually the last story I wrote. And it was upon my editor's suggestion, really, that I write that story he loved green fluorescent so much, he said, well, why don't you write another story in that tone? And I decided just to pluck that character, the mother, out of green fluorescent protein and construct a story around her life and her struggle with alcohol.
You've been told this before. Very impressive debut.
Thank you.
And the novel will be watched and waited for. And do you have any idea when we get a hold of that? Because I want my next fix of Neil Smith.
Ooh, when? Good question. I'm just starting the writing. I've done the research. I've got the skeletal frame for the plot. I know the characters well, and I'm just starting to write it. So I've never written a novel. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, and it'll also depend on my real work, my translation work, how much of that I can put off.
The book is Bang Crunch, a collection of short stories, a first collection of short stories. I'm speaking to the author, Neil Smith, and Bang Crunch is published by Knopf Canada.